Shalom. This is Adessa Basaiwan returning with the book of Revelation, chapter 17, revised. And we're edging ever so much closer to the ending of this amazing prophecy, this amazing prophetic book. And this particular study or chapter is called The Sealing of the 144,000 Saints. Now, before we get started with this study, let's go through the previous chapters so that we can see their arrangements or rearrangements. Not all of them were rearranged, but the pertinent ones that were that were changed, right? To keep us discombobulated and away from the truth. They changed our book, they changed our manuals, our manual, and they changed the books within our manual, meaning the Bible. And the book of Revelation, because it pertains to the end times, what else would we expect? Should this be a surprise to us? No. Thankfully, we have Ruach Ol Amath, the Spirit of Truth, who was released after Hamashiach died so that he can give us the truth. He is the one who reveals to us the truth. So let's go through the previous chapters. Chapter 1, the revelation of Hamashiach. Chapters 2 and 3, the letters of judgment to the 7 assemblies. Chapter 4, in the throne room of Yahweh, of course. Chapter 5, who is worthy to open the book of seals. Chapter 6, part 1, the 4 seals. Chapter 6, part 2, the woman and the dragon. Chapter 7, the reaping of the southern kingdom. Chapter 8, the rise of the two beasts. Chapter 9, part 1, the sifting of the northern kingdom begins. Chapter 9, part 2, the coming judgments of the two olive trees. Chapter 10, the second exodus of the northern kingdom begins. Chapter 11, the two woes. Chapter 12, the seven thunders and the seventh trumpet. I did an extension for chapter 12, and it's called the second exodus of the northern kingdom, according to the book of Revelation, parts 1, 2, 3, and 4. Chapter 13, the judgment of the whore of Babylon begins, and that is part 1 and 2, parts 1 and 2, and I did an extension for that as well. Chapter 13, parts 3 and 4, called the Roman Catholic Church and Christianity. Chapter 14, Babylon the Great is fallen, parts 1 and 2. Chapter 15, the worshippers of the beast are condemned. Chapter 16, the song of the victorious martyrs. And we know those victorious martyrs would be that of the northern kingdom. Now we are at chapter 17, the sealing of the 144,000 saints. And if we look for this chapter in the Bible, I believe it's somewhere around chapter 7, somewhere around there. But if you understand the events according to the word of Alahayam, even though they have moved our chapters and verses and removed some of our prophecies and hidden some of them and do whatever they do, to keep us confused and away from the truth. Thankfully, we have Ruach HaKadash, who is here to help us to bring order, to bring it all together through revelation. And once we understand the revelation of the prophecies concerning the end times, they can't fool us. Come on, they can't fool us. Because our eyes are not blind, our ears are not deaf, and definitely our hearts are not calloused. All right? So what we're going to get started with is the chapter is a very short chapter, but it's still a pretty hefty study. It's still an amazing study. And there were some things that I wanted to add but I had to take them out. Yes, because there's such a thing as too much information. And sometimes the information that he gives us is only for us, it's not for anyone else. This is the main information that we all need to know. All the other stuff, eventually, he will let his people know when he's ready to let them know. So let's look at verse 1. And after these things, I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, and the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living Alahayam. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth, nor neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our Alahayam, Alahayana, in their foreheads. And I heard the number of them who were sealed, and they were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of Habanai-ol Yasharaal. Remember those words, of all the tribes of Habanai-ol Yasharaal, the children of Yasharaal. Verse 5, of the tribe of Yahawada, which is Judah, were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Ra'awaban, which is Reuben, were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Gad were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Asher were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Naphtali, which is Naphtali, that is misspelled there, were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Dan, and I have Manasseh in there because Manasseh in the Bible, Manasseh replaces, or they replaced the tribe of Dan with Manasseh, but I've put the tribe of Dan back in. So of the tribe of Dan were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Shamaowan, which is Simeon, were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Lewi were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Shakar, which is Issachar, were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Lawan, which is Zebulun, were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Yawasap, who is Joseph, were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Mayam, who is Benjamin, were sealed 12,000. Now I did not take anything out to put anything in. They're the ones who took Dan out, and I just put him back in. It says here, of all the tribes of Habanai-ol Yasharaal. And as long as we have the tribe of Yawasap in here, that tribe is inclusive of the tribe of Manasseh and Ephraim. You cannot have the tribe of Joseph and then his son. That does not make any sense on any level whatsoever. So I replaced Manasseh because Manasseh does not belong there. But I put Dan back in. There's nowhere in the scriptures that Alahayam has done away with the tribe of Dan. Dan was one of the 12 sons of Yaakov, and he is a progenitor of the tribe of Dan. All right? They're the ones who mess with our scriptures. They're the ones who messed with it. Get upset with them, right? That's who we need to get upset with. Now we've reached an event where there's minimal information given to us, but we can still glean from what we do know about the 144,000 saints of Yahweh. Okay, I know a lot of people are still out there teaching and believing that people on this earth already alive can be part of the 144,000. You have people in the Christian churches who are not even of our lineage claiming to be the part of the 144,000. We have women proclaiming that they are part of the 144,000. We have men who are married with children who are claiming that they're part of the 144,000. I don't know if people refuse to read the scriptures, or maybe they're so deluded that they can't understand what the scriptures are saying. It's quite clear what it says. But when we get to that chapter, actually, we did pass that chapter already. When it talks about them being men who are virgins, who have not known a woman, all right, who have no guile in their mouth, meaning that they cannot lie. And yet you got these ones telling lies, saying that they're part of the 144,000. All right? The 144,000, they're not born yet. They're not born yet. So these people that are claiming to be part of the 144,000, that will be the ones going into the wilderness, or the ones coming back to the earth to minister to the people on the earth, that is just a lot of fables. There's a lot of false teaching, false doctrines. They're the doctrines of devils. All right? The doctrines of devils. The 144,000 are not born yet. And if you followed along in my series and all the different studies that I've done pertaining to these extraordinary people, you will know the reason why. But I'll cover a little bit again concerning this matter in this study. So let's carry on. If we reflect on what we already know, then this limited information is all we need, meaning the 8 verses that we've just read. What we do know is this. The southern kingdom is taken up to third heaven in the chariots. And that's due to occur any day now because, in fact, let me just read on because I'm going to be repeating myself. While they are there, meaning in third heaven, they will wash in the sea of water. And we've talked about that in previous studies. The sea of water is found in the Garden of Eden. And it is it's a water that literally will cleanse you, so that if you were dark, you were made white. Now, dark doesn't mean black as in Negro and then you become Caucasian. No. He is talking about the sin nature that has made us dark, and now it will make us pure. That's what that white signifies. All right? It will make a man pure, meaning it will remove the sin nature so that we will become as Adam and Hawa were before they sinned. Right? Where, and I'm continuing on, where they will be cleansed eternally of their sin nature. Also in the Garden of Eden, which is in third heaven, they will also eat the fruit of the tree of life. And together, these two actions, meaning bathing in the sea of water to remove the sin nature, and eating of the tree of life where you receive eternal life, right, will cause them to live eternally and become light again, just like Adam and Hawa were in the beginning before they sinned. Similarly, the northern kingdom, when they begin their second exodus into the wilderness, heading to the land of Yasharaal, they too will experience the same miracles as the southern kingdom in the kingdom of heaven. And I've discussed this in so many different studies, okay? As we have discussed in previous numerous studies, the northern kingdom will experience Joel 2, verse 3. Joel chapter 2, verse 3. We're going to look at that in a minute. Where the land before them will be transformed to be like the Garden of Eden until they reach Yasharaal. And then Yasharaal will be transformed to be like the Garden of Eden. This will only occur after all the rebels are weeded out and only the righteous remnant of the northern kingdom remains. So there's a part of their journey where they're all now, all the 9.5 tribes are traveling together. All the rebels have been weeded out. Now Alahayam will transform the land before them to be like the Garden of Odan, where they will be walking in a perpetual garden. No more, they have no more fear, and they aren't even experiencing any more of the judgments happening around them. They be completely covered, completely surrounded by the glory of Alahayam. Remember, he said he's going to be a fire before them and a flame behind them. So he is going to be surrounding them, protecting them, shielding them from the rest of the judgments, because they're only going to see up to trumpet number 4. By trumpet number 5, that's it. They're not going to see trumpet number 5. And by that time, all the rebels are weeded out, and now Alahayam is leading them, the righteous remnant of the northern kingdom, in a perpetual garden until they reach the land of Yasharaal. Now, because they're traveling in a perpetual garden, whatever elements the original garden of Odan has, this garden will also have. So it will have the sea of water and will also have the tree of life. All right? This will be the blessing of Yahweh for them, and they too will wash in the sea of water and eat of the tree of life, as these elements will be in the perpetual garden that is like Odan, the garden of Odan, that they will be traveling in. Please see my study called The Second Exodus of the Northern Kingdom according to the book of Revelation for clarity. You can also go, I also did another series called The Second Exodus into the Wilderness. Joel chapter 2 verse 3. A fire devours before them, and behind them a flame burns. That's the glory of Alahayam. He's the one who's leading them into the wilderness and through the wilderness until they reach the land. So all these people out there that are claiming that they're the ones to bring the tribes out into the wilderness, they're lying to you. Alahayam led our forefathers in the wilderness as a pillar of fire by night and a pillar of cloud by day. And yes, he had Masha, but this time around, he is not going to use a man to bring his tribes out. He himself are going to bring them out. The land is as the garden of Odan before them. That's the garden of Eden. Odan is the correct name. And behind them a desolate wilderness, yea, and nothing shall escape them. So Alahayam, for the righteous remnant, their judgments are over. They're finally sifted. And now they're going to live in perpetual blessings of Alahayam. No, not to see any more hardships, not to see any more torments, nothing. They are now living in blissful harmony with him and walking in a perpetual garden, meaning before them, all they're going to see is beauty, peace, quiet, food galore. He's going to restore manna to them. He's going to do everything for these people. Why? Because they're the righteous remnant. All right. At this time, in this prophecy, speaking of the sealing of the 144,000, the southern kingdom is dwelling in the kingdom of heaven, and the northern kingdom is dwelling in our land, Yasharaal. They've reached the land, and they're living there in safety. They are both cleansed of their sin nature and have received their gift of eternal life. They will live like people, except without sin. This is the one thing that we need to understand. When we're regathered, what are we going to be doing? We're going to be living as we're supposed to be living here on the earth. Except what we're doing here on the earth opposes the commands of Alahayam because of our sin nature, because of rebellion. But now we're going to be living in harmony with Alahayam without the sin nature, so therefore without sin. So we will be doing the things that He wants us to do. We'll be living in obedience, in perfect obedience, and in perfect love. And we're not going to be living by the sweat of our brow. Yes, we can do whatever we want to do. Everything is before us. He's going to provide everything for us. There'll be no needs. There'll be no sicknesses. There'll be no diseases. There'll be no fears. There'll be no tears. There'll be no sadness. There'll be no anger, no frustration, no worry. Nothing like that. We're talking about perfect harmony, perfect love, and perfect joy and peace with Him and with each other. All right? And we can do whatever we want to do. Now, when I say whatever, I'm not talking about without limitations. Of course, there are always limitations. But He is our limitation. Because of our perfect, the relationship that we have with Him, He sets the boundaries. So yes, we're not going to step out of those boundaries because there's no sin nature to draw us out. So our joy will know no bounds. Our joy will know no bounds. We will be so blissfully happy that we wouldn't even know how to express it in words. Pure joy. And when you look at another person, there is no jealousy or envy or anything like that. It's just love. Love for Him and love for one another. And He's going to give us the whole garden to roam in. He's going to give us everything that we need and more. Our brains cannot comprehend what He has waiting for us. When Hamashiach say, I go to prepare a place for you, He was not talking about something little, a slight something. The things that people work for here on this earth, and they think that they've achieved something because they have a fancy house or fancy cars and a fancy job, a big up job, money in the bank. That all of those things cannot compare to what He has for us, because with sweat and tears, people had to work for those things and they have to keep them. Because if they don't watch those things, someone's going to come and steal them. That's why they have all these insurance policies. All right? So they can't sleep peacefully at night because you got money in the bank. If you hear there's a problem at the banks, the first thing you're going to do, your heart is going to sink, because that's where all your money is stored up. How are you going to sleep at night? Once you don't have any money in the bank, everything, your world will come apart at the seams. What if your job, the company that you work for, it closed down or it fires you? How are you going to be able to sleep at night? Because first thing you're going to be thinking about, how am I going to continue pay my rent or pay my bills, pay my mortgage? How am I going to be able to eat, provide for my family? How are you going to be able to sleep at night with all those worries on your mind? So you might have those things and think that now I'm living and enjoying these things. Life could not be any better. But you have there's worry that is attached to those things. Because the day something changes, the day there's a shift where there's a likelihood that you're going to lose your job or lose the money that you have, then you're up the creek without a paddle. But Alahayam, when he gives us things, there's no worry, there's no thought of someone coming in to steal. There's no issue about, okay, I have to keep an eye on this thing or that thing. We don't need insurance policies. We don't need anything. We just go in and possess. And what is for a person is for them and them alone. No one can come and take it away from you. Everyone's going to have their own little portion. And they will be blissfully happy with it. So there's no worry about losing it or someone coming to take it, because that nature is gone. That nature of greed and envy and lust is gone because the sin nature is gone. So we're not only talking about the bountifulness of what he has waiting for us, but how about the emotional aspect of being free from fears, free from lust, free from greed, free from pride, free from sorrows. How about all those negative emotions? Being free from all those things. You can't put a price tag on that. We wouldn't need to sleep because our bodies will be changed. You will never feel tiredness. You'll never feel tired. You'll never feel hot. You'll never feel cold. You'll never feel hunger. You'll never feel thirst after we reach these destinations, whether it's third heaven or the land of Yasharaal. All those things that are this animal body that we are sitting in. When I say animal body, because that's how Alahayam describes it. Because this body of ours that he gave to us after the fall, actually he gave it to Adam and Hawa after they fell because they lost their light. When he cloaked them in flesh, not animal flesh yet, human flesh. With this human flesh, it needs certain things to maintain it. You need to eat, you need to drink, you need to sleep. You need to take care of it. If you don't take care of it, it's going to fall apart. If you don't bathe it, it's going to stink. Well, we're not going to experience that after we're cleansed eternally of our sin nature, and we're restored back to where we were before Adam and Hawa sinned, and even greater than that. And I spoke about that as well. So when I say we don't have a clue, we don't have an idea, one little inkling of an idea of the greatness that is waiting for us, we don't know. Even if we speculate it, we still can't grasp how great and awesome our inheritance is. And that's why many of our people have sold their inheritance for a bowl of pea soup. They've sold it because they have no understanding of the greatness that's waiting for us. The awesomeness. Okay, let's read on. So I said here, they will live like people except without sin, and they will have one last debt to pay that is due to pay to Alahayam, and that is their firstborn males that will belong to him. The 144,000 firstborn males are owed to Alahayam because of a debt that our forefathers owed, but they couldn't pay it. And if you go, you read, you watch those studies that I told you, you understand what I'm saying. So they belong to him, the 144,000 first fruits, firstborn males belong to him. as a debt that is going to be repaid on behalf of our forefathers. So let's read on and see what else is written here. This is to repay the debt for saving the firstborn during the Passover and Goshen. Go back. Okay, let me read on. I have also done an extensive study called the 144,000 First Fruits of Yahweh, and that explains it using the scriptures. All right? Because people will say, well, but Lewi, the tribe of Levi, was given to replace the 144,000 or the firstborn males that Alahayam originally had requested, had commanded. Actually, that's a better word. But if you go through the study and if you go through the chapters and the verses, you will see that Alahayam set apart even after he selected the tribe of Levi or Lewi to serve him, to minister unto him as his priesthood, that he still requested and commanded that the firstborn males must be presented before him for at least 3 of the feast or festivals. I wanted to say feast days, but festivals. They had to present themselves before him and they had to bring their offering, because that was a type and shadow of the 144 first fruit, the firstborn males, 12,000 from each tribe, that are they are the repayment, or they are the sons of Yahweh, of Hamashiach. Both of them. Because they're going to serve Yahweh in his tabernacle as priests. That's who they are. And who they will be, as a matter of fact. They're not here yet. So they're going to serve Alahayam as priests. Hamashiach, they follow him wherever he goes because he is the high priest forever, after the order of Malachi Sadak. All right? These two studies, the second Exodus of the Northern Kingdom according to the book of Revelation, and the 144,000 first fruits of Yahweh, goes into detail. You might even want to take a look at the chariots of Yasharaal. And also the second Exodus into the wilderness. All of these tell you about the 144,000. It is for this reason, and also to fulfill the promise of multiplication, that we will be marrying and having children even during these two pivotal times of our lives, while still separated as two kingdoms. So while we are in third heaven, and while the northern kingdom, they're traveling along in a perpetual garden all the way to the land of Yasharaal, they will be marrying, given in marriage, and they will be procreating. We will be procreating. There will be nothing to stop us. What's there to stop us? We're living in perfect harmony. We're alive. We're not dead. We were not resurrected to life. We're going to look at that in a minute. We were taken up alive. And it is for this reason why we were taken up alive. Let's read on. There will be no reason to wait for our regathering together as one kingdom during the 1,000-year reign of Hamashiach. So you're not going to call us up to third heaven and we just sit there and wait for the events to unfold, and then after we're gathered together as one kingdom, the 12 tribes of Yasharaal, then yes, we start living like normal people. No, we're going to be living like regular people in third heaven. We'll be living like regular people Even as they're traveling through the wilderness until they reach the land, then they'll still be living like regular people, except without sin. Everything will be done in purity and in holiness and in righteousness. And this is the purpose of the remnant. The remnant, the righteous remnant of the southern kingdom and the righteous remnant of the northern kingdom. These ones have been selected. They have been chosen to be the ones to bring about multiplication, to replenish the tribes. Let's read on. Let's read on. You'll understand as I continue on. Our lives will no longer be disrupted by evil. Satan can't come. The Satans and the devils and the demons can't come near us because there's no sin nature. We're completely dwelling in the presence of Alahayam, dwelling in his glory. We are emitting his glory, which is his light. So they can't come near us. They know that is done. They're on the edge of being tossed into the lake of fire. They're trying to see who else they can draw with them, who else they can draw with them, thinking of the ones that are remaining on the earth, the inhabitants on the earth, which will be the Gentile nations. I was trying to lead to that point. All right. Sometimes my brain just gets a little tangled up there. All right. So let's carry on here. So the devils, they're running around on the earth now. They're no longer allowed in the heavens anyway. And they're definitely not going to be allowed in the land of Yasharaal, except when Alahayam is going to draw Gog and Magog into the mountains of Yasharaal. But that's as far as they'll get. All right? Because he brought them there for a reason. He's going to destroy them there. But as far as touching his people, after we're regathered, no one can touch us. No one can touch us. As a matter of fact, the devils and the demons will be afraid of us. Why? Because we will now have the light of Alahayam. And the devils are afraid of him, so they will be afraid of us. So they're not going to come near us. So our lives will no longer be disrupted by evil, hence we can continue living as we were before, but better. When I say living before, I'm not talking about working a 9-to-5 job. No, we're not going to have to do anything like that. No, we're going to have our homes. We're going to have, if you think of farms and what have you, just think of how life was before we had technology. We're going to be living just like that. All right? And like I said, we're not going to be hungry or thirsty or grow tired. There's not going to be any night there, no darkness, no nothing. We'll be living in perpetual light. So we'll never feel tired. So we'll be living and we will eat because it's a pleasure to eat, and part of his feast days, part of celebrating the feast days of Yahweh is eating. Worshipping and eating. And yes, we will be spending a lot of time in worship, and we'll be celebrating, and we're going to be eating and drinking. But you're also going to be doing the little things that we like to do, go and, I don't know, whatever you can think that our forefathers used to do when they were living in the land. They had their cattle, they had their little household duties that they used to do, but it's not going to be done by the sweat of our brow anymore. Everything is going to yield 200%. You're not going to have to, it's not going to be hard labor, nothing like that. And if you don't want to work, you don't have to work. If you want to do something, you do something. But the point I'm trying to make is it's not going to be like how we are on this earth because of the darkness, because of sin nature, because of evil. All right? It'll be a perfect life. Life will be perfect in the kingdom of heaven for the southern kingdom and in our land, Yasharaal, for the northern kingdom. like it was for Adam and Hawa before they sinned. Now, please do not misunderstand what Hamashiach said about marriage, because a lot of people have this pious thinking about how we will be after we are regathered, that we will be like angels and we will be like just how the angels are, like I don't even having no desires, having no, just worshiping. That is coming later on. But remember, when we're regathered as people, people that are alive. All right? People that we have not died. So the desires that he gave to us, actually, as a matter of fact, let's go back to Adam and Hawa. He gave Adam and Hawa wholesome desires, and that is for each other. All right? He found a wife for Adam, who is Hawa, and they were married. However, because of disobedience, they were kicked out of the garden before they even began to multiply, before they procreated. All right? And that set the ball rolling for every single person that was born on this earth. And that brought about, curses in our lives, where we have to struggle and fight to stay on top of things. You want to serve the Most High, and it's like sometimes you got to fight to stay on the path. And it's not 24/7 you have to fight to stay on the path, but there are moments where it feels like it's constant, and then there are times when he gives us a reprieve because he comes in and says, enough, stay away from her or stay away from him, right? But it's not going to be like that for us when we're regathered. We're a people. We're going to be both natural and spiritual. Okay? Because he is going to be dwelling in our midst. First of all. All right? And because we are physical, when I say sorry, I didn't mean to say natural. Because we're physical and we're also spiritual, that means that until we become completely spiritual, we'll still have a physical body, but it will be a transformed body, like Hamashiach was after he rose again from the grave. He was still physical. The apostles could still touch him, but he was able to go through a wall. He was able to go from here to there without walking, because now he was transformed into his spiritual body. Just like angels can have physical bodies, and yet they can move on in this dimension in a totally different manner, because the elements and this dimension has no hold on them. They're from a different dimension, so therefore their bodies react differently here compared to us who are born in this dimension. Our physical bodies are limited. If you try to walk through a wall, the wall will knock us down. the, the wall will knock us down, all right? So, but after we are regathered and we go through the process of washing in the sea of water and eating of the tree of life, then we become like Hamashiach after he rose from the grave. Yet we're going to be physical. And the reason why we still have to maintain our physical bodies to the way, because we have to multiply. So we're not going to be physical sometimes, but we're going to be physical up to a certain point of time. And that point of time will be after the 1,000-year reign of Hamashiach. And then we are completely transformed after that. So This transformation is going to be just like Adam and Hawa were. Physical and yet spiritual at the same time. Physical in the sense that we can still touch and feel each other, and yet spiritual because we can see into the spiritual realm like Adam and Hawa did before they sinned. We can see, there'll be nothing hidden from us. All the mysteries of heaven will be revealed to us. Everything will be revealed to us. We will know the mind and the heart of Alahayam because we will be in perfect harmony with Him. However, we will be physical. And that's why He kept the Garden of Odan in third heaven, because eventually He's going to move it and bring it back to the earth where it's going to be our land, the land of Yasharaal. All right? And that's where the 12 tribes are going to live and minister to Him. And Hamashiach is going to be our high priest. And he's going to establish his tabernacle on Mount Sayawan. And that's where all the nations around the earth, on the earth, is going to come and bring their offerings. All right? Does that sound like something you want to be a part of? Okay. Something that I would definitely want to be a part of. So let's look at marriage. Marriage was given so that man and woman can multiply. Once a man and a woman multiply, they have children. The parents are there to help raise up the children to be the next generation of men and women. All right? That's the purpose of marriage. And not only are you there to raise up the children, well, procreate, raise up the children, but love. Love each other and raise the children in a loving home. That's the purpose of marriage. It's a covenant between a man and a woman to love one another to the end and beyond. And because of the fruit of their love for each other are the children. And they will grow up and they will repeat that pattern. All right? Let's look at Matthew chapter 22, verse 27. And last of all, the woman died also, therefore in the resurrection, meaning the resurrection to life, or the resurrection of life. Whose wife shall she be of the 7? For they all had her. So before we move on, let me tell you the scenario here that these Pharisees and scribes and Sadducees or whomever was saying to Hamashiach. They were questioning him because they were trying to trap him in his word, in his law. Sorry about that. So they gave a scenario about a woman. She married a man and they never had children, but he died. So according to the law, if a woman marries a man and they have no children, she is to marry his brother and have children through him for the spouse that died. And the father did it like Abba did it like that, so that every person that had a portion of the land remains in the family. All right? It had to remain in the family. The inheritance had to remain in the family. So the man had 6 other brothers. And when he died, she married one of the other brothers. But he died also, and she had no children by him. And it went on like that until the 6th brother of her original husband that died, he also died, and she didn't get any children by him also. So their question is, after she dies and in the resurrection, whose wife will she be of the seven? Because she married seven brothers. All right, they all had her. So here is Yahusha''s response to them. Verse 29. Yahushua answered and said unto them, you do err. That's the first thing he said to them. You're making a big mistake there, son. Not knowing the scriptures, nor the power of Alahayam. You're in error because you don't know the scriptures and you don't know the power of Alahayam. And this is who he's saying to the leaders of the day that were supposed to be the ones teaching the law, teaching the scriptures. All right, verse 30, for in the resurrection, they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are as the angels of Alahayam in heaven. That's how they are. Verse 31, but as touching the resurrection of the dead, have you not read that which was spoken unto you by Alahayam, saying, I am Alahayam of Abraham, and Alahayam of Yatsachah, and Alahayam of Yaokab? Alahayam is not Alahayam of the dead, but of the living. And when the multitudes heard this, they were astonished at his doctrine. So they came at him with a very strange scenario, trying to trap him in his word, in his law, but he turned it around on them to show them up to be ignorant. All right? That's when you don't know things, that means you're ignorant. What Hamashiach was explaining to the leaders of his day, who came to him with this scenario of a woman having married 7 husbands and they all died one after the other, whose wife will she be at the end of the age? The time of the resurrection of life. What was the first thing that he said unto them? That they err. They're making a mistake. Because they have no understanding of the scriptures. All right? They err not knowing the scriptures. Sorry, I misread something there. They err not knowing the scriptures nor the power of Alahayam. So is the same for many people out there teaching strange doctrines, because they have no understanding of the scriptures, which will lead them and others to error. That's why I'm saying that we cannot look to a concordance, we cannot look to a Bible dictionary or some historian to get a revelation of prophecy, to get a revelation of the word of Alahayam. It is one thing to understand a word to help give you clarity, but it's another thing to get revelation. And obviously the leaders in Hamashiach's day had no revelation from Alahayam. Why? Because they were false teachers. They were false in their leadership. Those who will be resurrected to life will not be like the ones who are living and will be regathered by Hamashiach. Let me explain that. Our forefathers, the righteous ones that died, will not, when they return, first of all, when they return, will not be like us who have never died, but we are regathered and we have been transformed. All right, let's read on. Those who will be resurrected have died and have fulfilled their duty while they had life on the earth. Now it is time for those who are still alive and will be regathered to fulfill their main important task, and that is to be fruitful and multiply and replenish our numbers. That is the role, that is the goal for the righteous remnant of the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom. To be fruitful and multiply and replenish our numbers. That's why we have to marry. And that's why we will be marrying. Now let us look at the timing for those who will be resurrected to life and those who will be regathered. The southern kingdom will be the first to be regathered in the chariots, and that will be any day now, as the fourth seal has already been opened. And we will not be here to see the fifth seal. We know the fifth seal are the martyrs of the southern kingdom crying out. And that will trigger the persecution of the northern kingdom when they're awakened. So that has not happened yet. All right? After we are taken up in the chariots, the northern kingdom will awaken to their true identity and led out in their second exodus after the great earthquake. However, our righteous forefathers who have died and will be resurrected to life will be resurrected at the beginning of the millennial reign of Hamashiach. All right, so the regathering of the southern kingdom and the regathering of the northern kingdom, they're two different events. And this resurrection to life for the righteous, or for our righteous forefathers, is another event that will take place at the beginning of the millennial reign of Hamashiach. This will occur after all the judgments are poured out upon the earth, meaning the last 7 vials, because that's the next chapter that we're going to go into, chapter 18, okay? They, speaking about our righteous forefathers who will be resurrected to life, will be like angels, not able to marry and multiply, as those earthly desires will leave them. Let me read that again. Our righteous forefathers who will be resurrected to life at the beginning of the millennial reign of Hamashiach will be like angels, not able to marry and multiply, as those earthly desires will leave them. They will have already fulfilled their purpose in their previous life, and now this will be the purpose of the regathered righteous remnant of the 12 tribes of Yasharaal, speaking of the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom. Eventually, the regathered 12 tribes of Yasharaal will also be transformed to be like angels after the completion of the 1,000-year reign of Hamashiach. So after the 1,000-year reign, then we are transformed to be like angels. So we're no longer husband and wife, mother and children, mother, father and children, cousins, what have you. We're all going to be brethren. That's who we're going to be, brethren. We're going to we know who we are. We're still going to be very close. But the things that we were doing as husband and wife, we will not need to do anymore, because those desires will leave us. Those earthly desires will leave us. And our desire will be for Hamashiach and for Yahweh, to worship them and to dwell in their presence for all eternity. All right? Now we're going to look at that a little bit more, because we're going to go into those chapters and we're going to go into the Apocrypha to pull some things out as well. And we're also going to reflect on what life was like for our forefathers when they were living in the land of promise, the land flowing with milk and honey. All right? That helps us to understand that life will not be, you know, like how some people have this image of us sitting in the clouds playing harps all the day long. That's Hollywood's version of heaven. All right, we got this thing over our head that's supposed to be symbolic of a halo and wings and harps, and we're sitting in the clouds, and that's all we know. That's not what we're going to be doing. That's not how life is going to be for us. We're going to be living like people, doing things only because of pleasure. But yes, we're also going to be worshiping the Most High. We're going to be worshiping Him with all our hearts. It's going to be a glorious time. All right, let's read on here. Let me see where I've left off. Alahayam had promised Abraham that his seed would be like the sand on the seashore. Remember that promise? And like the stars in heaven, innumerable. And that was not just a promise, but a prophecy. Many of our brethren will perish because of disobedience. And so our lineage will have to be replenished once again in order for this prophecy be fulfilled. Now, when he said that to Abraham, many generations ago, we've multiplied to be like the stars in heaven, to be like the sand on the seashore. But here's our issue. Many of our brethren are rebellious. Many of them. Many of them are going to perish because of rebellion. So we will not be a multitude anymore. We will be a remnant. And if we remain as a remnant, then it will not fulfill this promise to Abraham, to Yasharaal and Yaakov. And every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Alahayam must be accomplished. And this must be accomplished. Let's look at Shayath, the book of Genesis, chapter 15, verse 4. And behold, the word of Yahweh came unto him, meaning Abraham, our forefather, saying, this shall not be your heir. That's supposed to be. But he that shall come forth out of your own bowels shall be your heir. And he brought him forth abroad and said, look now toward heaven and tell the stars, if you're able to number them. And he said unto him, so shall your seed be. And he believed in Yahweh, and he counted it to him for righteousness. And that's another issue that our brethren have today. We don't believe. You look at these things and you say, oh, no, this is how we're going to go into the wilderness, and then what? They don't know what's going on. The way how our people are thinking, they're thinking that all we need to do is pack a bag and get ready to go into a wilderness. Or pack a bag and get ready to go on a ship, a cruise liner. They have no clue. Go on a cruise liner to go into the wilderness, or to go someplace and then from there go to the wilderness and then be raptured. You see how confusing our brethren are? You see how confusing they are? So confused. Because they do not understand the mind of Alahayam. They do not understand the word. They do not understand the scriptures. They're always walking in error. All right? They're always walking in error. But if you stay with Ruach HaKadosh and allow Him to show you His truth, His light, then that darkness, which is ignorance, will flee. All right? The darkness will flee. Alahayam promised our forefathers that we will be as the sand on the seashore and as the stars in heaven. And after our rebellious brethren are going to be cut down, do you think we're going to be a multitude again? No. Meaning a multitude at that point of time. No, we are a remnant. We're going to be a remnant. A remnant is going to be taken up in the chariots. A remnant is going to make it into our land. And it is that remnant that is going to multiply. And you know how that I know that is going to happen? Because Yaakov, our forefather, went in along with our other forefathers, the progenitors of the 12 tribes. They all went in to Goshen as 70 souls, including Yahusap and his two sons. And how many came out? Millions. After, say, roughly 210 years. Millions from 70 people. All right. So it will happen again because this is an ongoing prophecy. If you go back to even Genesis, when Alahayam spoke to Adam and Hawa, he said to them to be fruitful and multiply. When he spoke to Noah and his sons, he said to them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. It's always Alahayam's desire to have people living on his earth. All right? But we're going to see something as we go along. I don't want to speak it because I have to show it to you in the word. Bara'ashayath chapter 22 verse 15. And the angel of Yahweh called unto Abraham out of heaven the second time and said, by myself have I sworn. Now the angel of Yahweh is Hamashiach before he became Hamashiach in the flesh. When he presented himself to his people, he is called the angel of Yahweh. He's not just a regular angel. He is the son of Yahweh, but he is called the angel of Yahweh. All right. And said, by myself have I sworn. So that's why he can say, by myself I have sworn. All right. Because he's speaking as the son of Alahayam. Said Yahweh, for because you have done this thing and have not withheld your son, your only son, that in blessing I will bless you, and in multiplying I will multiply your seed as the stars of the heaven and as the sand which is upon the seashore. And your seed shall possess the fate of his enemies, and in your seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because you have obeyed my voice. So this is a time when Alahayam instructed Abraham to sacrifice his only begotten son of Sarah. Abraham had 8 sons in total, but he only had one son of promise, and that is Yasharaal, whom he got from Sarah, his wife. All right. And another thing that I want to mention, Hamashiach speaks for the Father, and he speaks like the Father. Okay? He speaks for the Father and he speaks like the Father. And I don't know if you've ever come across, even the angels speak like the Father, because they're speaking on behalf of the Father. He sends his angels with a message, and they speak as if they are the Father. But what they're doing is they're delivering the message as he has spoken it to them, to speak to the recipient of the message. So they're not going to speak of him in the third person, they speak of him in the first person. Okay? So here we see once again Alahayam is blessing Abraham because he had obeyed his voice. Abraham was a very obedient servant of Alahayam. That's why he loved him so much. He called him a grape of the bunch. He chose him as a grape. And from him came another grape who is Yasharaal. And from him came another grape who is Yaakov. And then from Yaakov we have the 12 sons. All right? This promise of multiplication was passed on to Yasharaal Abraham's only son by Sarah, and it was also passed on to Yaakov, the son of Yitzchak, then to his 12 sons, the progenitors of the 12 tribes of Yasharaal. And what word Alahayam Yahweh speaks to us, whether an oath, a covenant, or prophecies must come to pass, as his word will not return to him void. So let's look at Yasharaal chapter 55 verse 8. That's the book of Isaiah 55 verse 8. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, said Yahweh. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. For as the rain comes down and snow from heaven and returns not there, but waters the earth and makes it bring forth and bud, so that it may give seed to the sower and bread to the eater, so shall my word be that goes forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, empty, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. So when he speaks his word to us, consider it done. Consider it done. Consider that his word will accomplish everything that he sends it forth to accomplish. And he compares it to rain when it comes down and the snow from heaven. Snow is just frozen water. When it comes down, what it does, it waters the earth and it causes the vegetation to flourish and to blossom and to bear fruit. And that fruit then becomes food to the sower. All right, seed and bread to the sower. So it accomplishes that rain that comes down from heaven, accomplishes its goal. All right, and so is the word of Alahayam. It will always accomplish everything that he sends it forth to accomplish. So when he says that he's going to multiply us to be like the sand on the seashore and the stars in heaven, that word is not going to fall to the ground and not reproduce. All right? It will accomplish his goal, his plan, his purpose. Alahayam has sent forth his word in the form of an oath to our forefathers that their seed will multiply like the stars in heaven and like the sand on the seashore. After the sifting of the two kingdoms, our numbers will greatly diminish due to the rebellion of our brethren, causing Alahayam to strike them down in his judgments. However, as this oath must be accomplished, the remnant of the two kingdoms, the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom, will fulfill this prophecy for the final time and forever. All right? Because the children being born after the regathering will be not unusual, will be special, unique children. All right? They will not be born with a sin nature. And that will make them special and that will make them unique. Why? Because the parents that were regathered, their sin nature was removed, was washed out of them. All right? So how can the children be born with a sin nature? If there's no sin nature in the parents, how could there be a sin nature in the children? So the children that are born from these parents that have been regathered, the righteous remnant, will be, I don't want to use the word unusual, but they will be special. All right? They'll be born without a sin nature. And that's why, and I said this in previous studies, that's why Alahayam is waiting for these events to take place so that he now can claim the debt that is owed, which will be the 144,000 from the 12 tribes. Because the children that will be born from them will have no sin nature. Therefore, they will be pure, they will be holy, they will be righteous from the womb. And they're the ones that will be set apart for him, the firstborn males, to be his priests. That's why I said those Negroes walking around calling themselves part of the 144,000, they don't know what they're talking about. Some of them married, some of them divorced, some of them have children. They're sleeping around, they're telling lies, they're preaching and teaching false doctrine. Some of them are women with children. How can you fit yourself into this group, this unique group of people? How can you fit yourself in there? You are deceived. Take the wool off your eyes and unplug your ears. The devil is speaking to you. All right? The devils are speaking to you. They've got you deceived because you want a sense of importance. You want to feel important because you feel insignificant. And instead of trying to secure your regathering by walking in obedience to Alahayam, you're walking around trying to proclaim something that you're not. These ones walking around proclaiming something that they're not, they will never be. They will never be. All right? Let me give you an example. Let me give you a perfect example. Even after we're regathered and we are cleansed of our sin nature, we still cannot be the 144,000. No, we cannot. Let me give you a perfect example. Our forefather, Dawad, was loved by Alahayam. Loved him so much because he was a man after his heart. He was obedient to some degree. He was obedient, but he made a lot of mistakes, all right? He made a lot of mistakes. But he always repented and returned to Alahayam. He was a true worshiper of Alahayam. But he was a warrior. And when he became king over the 12 tribes, because he was king over Judah first, Yahawada first, they're his people. And when he became king over all the other tribes, he wanted to build a house for Yahweh. And Yahweh said, well, that's a grand idea, except you're not fit to build me a house. You got too much blood on your hands, son. You got too much blood on your hands. I love you. I love the idea, but it's not going to happen with you. You got too much blood on your hands. You're a man of war. But your son, Shalamah, who is Solomon, let him build me the house because he will reign during a time where there's complete peace throughout the land. So therefore, he is the correct person, the right person from your lineage to build me a house. So what did Dawad do? What did he do? He went and he got all the materials. He bought all the materials for the tabernacle. And he told his son, you're to build a tabernacle for Yahweh. And his son did. But Dawad could not build the tabernacle because he was a man of war. He had blood on his hands. But his son that came from his loins was the one who built the house for Yahweh. This is how Yahweh operates. We can never fulfill, even after we're cleansed and we're given the fruit from the tree of life to eat, we can never fulfill the requirements for the 144,000. However, our children can do so. Just like the son of Dawad fulfilled the plan to to build a house for Yahweh. This is how Alahayam works. All right, let's move on. Verse, I think we finished the statutes and laws. Okay. I've lost my place. Okay, yes. So we're now at Bara'ashayath, chapter 26, verse 3. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 26, verse 3. Sojourn in this land. Now he's speaking to Yasharaal, the son of Abraham. Sojourn in this land, and I will be with you, and will bless you, for unto you and unto your seed I will give all these countries. And I will perform the oath which I swore unto Abraham your father. And I will make your seed to multiply as the stars of heaven, and will give unto your seed all these countries, and in your seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed. So we see that it was passed on from Abraham to his son. Verse 5, because that Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. So you see, Abraham walked in his commandments, he walked in his statutes and his laws even before they were established by Masha. And that's why Alahayam loved Abraham. Abraham learned the commandments, the statutes, and the laws from his forefather, who is called Noach. He was under the tutelage of Noach and Shem. They were still alive when Abraham was a young man. And he spent some time living with them because Nimrod wanted to kill him. Nimrod wanted to kill him because Abraham was he was a firebrand. He was something to behold. I mean, he was a meek man, but he was not afraid of anybody. He was a warrior. All right, he was a warrior. And he had Nimrod afraid of him. In fact, Nimrod knew that there was a star coming, a leader, a ruler coming that is going to usurp him. And that's why and Nimrod was one of the first kings that tried to destroy all the males for fear of losing his kingship. You know, King Herod did the same thing. And Abraham's father hid his son for a very long time so that Nimrod would not kill him. This was the act of Alahayam, just like Masha's mother hid him in the ark because the Pharaoh wanted it. Pharaoh destroyed all the males as well. So you see, this is the reason why Alahayam is going to deal with the nations on this earth. For all the wickedness that they have done against our people, killing off our male children, trying to destroy us as a people. You know how many times these people, these other nations did these wicked things to us? Unbelievable. And you want to come back as, heaven forbid, if it was possible, you want to come back as 144,000 to minister to these people? No, let them go through what we went through, I say. Let them go through. You think if they didn't want to... Listen, these people want to wipe us off the face of the earth. And you want to come back and minister to them. You want to come back and minister to them. For what reason? You think they'll listen to you? They didn't listen to you before. Why would they listen to you now? Anyways. But this is what our forefathers have been through. Or our people have been through for generations after generations after generations. And Abraham was Nimrod was fearful of Abraham. All right? Because he found out then that Abraham was alive and he is the one that was prophesied. And this is in the Apocrypha. This is not in the Bible, by the way. You're not going to find this in the Bible. But I'm just kind of going off the beaten path right now. right? But just to let you know that Abraham was obedient, even though he was living in a pagan religious country, and even his own father worshiped idols. He kept the commandments, the statutes, and the laws of Alahayam. And he learned it through Sham, and he learned it from Nak, who is Sham's father, who is Noah, by the way. All right? So that's why it's amazing to read this, because Masha, the lawgiver, did not give the law yet or the commandments, but yet Abraham, our forefather, he kept them. Now, isn't that something? Alahayam spoke the same oath to Yasharaal as he had spoken to Abraham, his father, because it was a very important oath to ensure that they understood that at that time they were a minority. But in the distant future, they will become the majority on the earth. Do you know we've always been a minority? We've always been a minority. Okay. This is very important for us today to understand this precept and oath. Alahayam is not finished multiplying the 12 tribes of Yasharaal, not until after the millennial reign of Hamashiach is completed. We will not be few on this earth, but we will be the majority forever, and all the other nations will always be the minority. And this is the reason why we have to multiply. This is the reason why Alahayam will make sure we are going to multiply to become a majority on the earth. Right now, we are a minority, even though we have multiplied to be like the sand on the seashore. There's still more people on the earth, more than us. All the other nations put together are still more than us. We're few. They're Gentiles, and the Gentiles could be anywhere 7 billion. We might even, if we're 1 billion, because they're saying we're about 8 billion people on the earth. If we're 1 billion Negroes, then the other 7 billion are the other nations. They're still greater than we are. So what Alahayam is going to do is flip that around. If he wants 8 billion people on the earth, 7 billion will be our people, and only 1 billion would be the other nations. He's going to flip it around. We will always be the majority from here on. Speaking of the 1,000-year reign and after, we will be like the sand on the seashore and like the stars in heaven. Bara'ashayath chapter 35 verse 9. And Alahayam appeared unto Yaakov again. Now this is speaking to Yaakov, the father of the 12 sons who are the progenitors of the 12 tribes of Yasharaal. And this is when he came out of Padan Aram, which means to extend or to expand. So he's getting ready to expand Yaakov. And he blessed him. And Alahayam said unto him, Your name is Yaakov. Your name shall not be called any more Yaakov, but Yasharaal shall be your name. And he called his name Yasharaal. And Alahayam said unto him, I am Alahayam Shaddai, Alahayam Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall be of you, and kings shall come out of your loins. And the land which I gave Abraham and Yitzhak to you will I give it, and to your seed after you will I give the land. Now, let me pause here because you might be wondering, when are we going to get into the scripture? When are we going to get into Revelation chapter 17? I'm trying to lay a foundation here to understand why the 144,000 are the priesthood of Alahayam, who they're coming from, and why we are going to multiply, and how that is going to take place. All right? After we are cleansed, we will be a people unusual. We will be a people that are special. We'll be like the special treasure that we've heard of. The royal priesthood. right? I'm showing you the promises, how all of this is, how the 144,000 is birthed out of this, out of the promise of Alahayam to our forefathers. We need to understand these precepts, because if we don't understand these precepts, then you can't connect the dots together. It's always going to be something missing. So that's why I take the time to explain these precepts to you, because it's not just a matter of being regathered, but what else is going to happen? Who else is telling you what's going on? Who else? I'm explaining to you what is coming. I'm giving you an idea of what is going to happen to us as a people and what is waiting for us and why. Right? Why we have to multiply. Why we're going to have the 144,000 after we're regathered. All these things I'm explaining to you. Okay. So he said the same thing to Yaakov, that he's going to make him be fruitful and multiply. And a nation and a company of nations shall be of you, and kings shall come out of your loins. So kings did come out of his loins. All the kings that were over, first Yasharaal, and then the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom came through him, came out of his loins. Now this same promise is made to us today through our forefathers of the 12 tribes. So let's look at Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 18. Thus saith Yahweh, behold, I will bring again the captivity of Yaakov's tents, and have mercy on his dwelling places, and the city shall be built upon her own heap, and the palace shall remain after the manner thereof, and out of them shall proceed thanksgiving and the voice of them that make merry. Remember I told you, once we're regathered, we're going to be merry, we're going to be happy, we're going to be full of joy. There'll be no more sorrow, no more crying, no more shame, none of that, just merry. And this is speaking of the regathering, because he said, I will bring again, meaning return the captives of Yaakov's tents. And I will multiply them, and they shall not be few. And I will also glorify them, and they shall not be small. So we're not going to be a minority anymore. We're going to be a majority. All right? So let's look at Jeremiah chapter 33, verse 22. As the host of heaven cannot be numbered, neither the sand of the sea be measured, so will I multiply the seed of Dawad my servant, and Halawai that minister unto me. So Halawai is speaking of the tribe of Lawai, and Dawad is speaking of the tribe of Yahawada, Judah. So he is saying he's going to cause them to multiply, to be like the host, the stars in heaven, and the sand of the sea, of the seashore. All right? This is what he's speaking to us as people after he regathers us. Ezekiel chapter 36, verse 11. And I will multiply you, man and beast, and they shall increase and bring forth fruit, meaning children, offspring. Well, it wouldn't be children for beasts, but offspring. All right? And I will settle you after your old estates, and will do better unto you than at your beginnings. And you shall know that I am Yahweh. So even though most of these scriptures here are pointing to the northern kingdom, when they reach our land, it still pertains to the southern kingdom, because whatever they experience, we will also experience, and whatever we experience, they will also experience. All right? So Ezekiel chapter 37, verse 25. And they shall dwell in the land that I have given unto Yaakov my servant, wherein your fathers have dwelt. That's the promised land. And they shall dwell therein, even they and their children's children forever. So we're talking about generation after generation after generation. So how does that happen? First by marriage, then by procreation. Then you have the children. And then the children have children, because they marry and they have children. And then their children have children as well, doing the same thing. All right. And my servant Dawad shall be their prince forever. So Dawad, who was our king, he's going to return at the millennial age to be our prince, our leader over the 12 tribes. He's coming back because he's going to be raised up along with many others at the beginning of the 1,000-year reign of Hamashiach. He's coming back. Masha is coming back. Ahawaran is coming back. Jeremiah is coming back. Yasharaal is coming back. All the righteous people, our forefathers, are returning. Abraham, Sarah, all of them are coming back. Even Adam and Hawa, they're coming back. They're coming back. All right? The only people that will not be restored to or receive or be resurrected to life, that's better, are the Gentile nations. The Gentile nations will not be resurrected at this time. Even if there were worshippers of Alahayam, they have to wait for the white throne judgment. Only the righteous forefathers of the 12 tribes, only the 12 tribes are going to receive the gift of resurrection to life at the beginning of the millennial reign of Hamashiach. All other nations, no matter who they are and what they've done, good, bad, or indifferent, they got to wait for the judgment of the white throne. With the exception, of course, those that take the toxon and worship the beast. All right? They're cast, when they're destroyed, they're cast into the lake of fire. No judgment at the white throne for them. But all others will have to appear before the white throne in order to receive their reward. And that will happen after the 1,000-year reign. But there will still be nations, there will still be Gentile nations living on the earth, because the earth will never be empty of people, and they will multiply as well. But they will have their sin nature. However, because, and we're going to see that in chapter 19, because the Satans have been cast into the lake of fire, and the last Satan will be cast into the bottomless pit. That's Gadriel. A seal is set upon his mouth, and upon him he's sealed into the abyss. So all the demonic activity on the earth will cease. So they will have a moment. Well, it's actually longer than a moment. They will have 1,000 years to make a decision whether to truly give their hearts to Alahayam or not. And we know many of them will not. Many of them will not. Because they'll be suffering from envy and jealousy and all kind of, they'll still bring their offerings. They don't have a choice, otherwise they'll be destroyed right there on the spot. But that sin nature inside of them, because they're not being persuaded, they're not being provoked by the devils. Like the devils aren't speaking, the demons, even the unclean spirits will not be reigning on the earth at this time. They'll be quenched. All right, they'll be subdued at this time. So there'll be no demonic activity on the earth. However, because sin nature, what comes with sin nature? All the negative emotions. All right? All those things are connected to the sin nature, as well as hunger and thirst and fatigue and all these different things. All these things are connected to sin nature. And although for a season these people on the earth, the Gentile nations, will live in peace and prosperity because of Hamashiach, who will be king on the earth, His people will be the priesthood. There's no evil roaming around, no demonic spirits roaming around. Yet, people, some of them, are going to be disobedient. We see that in, I believe, it's Zechariah, who will refuse to come and bring their offerings at the appointed times. Anyways, when we get to that scripture, when we get to chapter 17, 19, we're going to go into all of that. But I'm saying all of that to say this, that the people on the earth, the Gentile nations on the earth, they will still have their sin nature and they will still be prone to disobedience. Even though there are no demons there to provoke them to disobedience. Because it's sin. And until they are cleansed of that sin nature, they can be easily provoked, especially after the 1,000-year reign. And the last Satan is released from his abyss, who is Gadriel. Then many of them are going to side with him and be a part of his army. Okay? And that's when Alahayam is going to destroy them all forever. And then there's a remnant that is going to remain with him. And the ones that he will resurrect to life, he will give them eternal life. But they will always be a minority. All right? And we will be the majority. And if you want to pull a number, look at how many people are on this earth right now, about 8 billion. Well, I said it before. It could be, in fact, though, I'm not going to go back to the numbers. Yes, I said it before, but I just use that as an example, comparing to how many people on the earth as it is today. All right? So I don't need to repeat that. So the Gentiles will not be returned, they will not be receiving their reward of eternal life till after the 1,000-year reign. The ones that are living and the ones that are dead. Okay? So let's look now at Ezekiel. Oh, I think I read that. Let me see where I've left off. And my servant Dawad. Okay, so I'm at verse 26. Moreover, I will make a covenant of peace with them, meaning the 12 tribes. And it will be an everlasting covenant with them. And I will place them and multiply them, and will set my sanctuary in the midst of them forevermore. Verse 27. My tabernacle also shall be with them, yea, I will be their Alahayam, and they shall be my people. And that is covenant there. I will be their Alahayam, and they shall be my people. That is covenant. All right? That is the covenant. And when he's in the midst of us forevermore, it means that we are righteous and we're walking in righteousness and in holiness, because he cannot dwell where there isn't holiness and righteousness. That's why our forefathers had to have all those laws, those statutes, those judgments and commandments. But this now is a future event that will take place with a generation that will not be like their forefathers. All right, they will be pure worshippers of Alahayam. All right, and what is going to ensure that that will happen is the fact that they're the ones that are regathered, the righteous remnant, the washing in the sea of water, and the eating of the fruit of the tree of life. So now we are in that perfect condition that he had created in the very beginning, but we have also been perfected. Now, I've said this in previous studies, and I'm still going to say it again. Adam and Hawa, they had light. They were light, and the light flowed out from within them outside to be like a garment. This is how Alahayam created his host of heaven and Adam and Hawa, to have a portion of his light. When Adam and Hawa sinned, that light was shut off and they were naked. He had to cloak them in skin, human skin, and then he cloaked them in animal skin to cover their nakedness, their physical nakedness now. Same thing with Satan, Gadriel, and all the different, the other, but especially Gadriel, because Gadriel is Lucifer. He was called the anointed cherub, and he was the highest of all the angels. And he turned worship upon himself, and it caused him to fall and lose his light. All the angels that followed him lost their light. And their light, when they lost their light, darkness came in. Darkness crept in, and that darkness is a permanent darkness. That's why they are condemned. There's no judgment for them. They are condemned. Unlike Adam and Hawa. Alahayam had mercy on Adam and Hawa because they didn't know any better. But anyways, that's a story for another time, and I think I've gone through this before. Abraham received the garment of Lucifer. He received Gadriel's light garment. So what is going to happen to this generation, to all of us, not just our generation, but those that are born of us and our forefathers when they are resurrected to life? We will all receive not just the light garment that Adam and Hawa had, but we're going to have an upgraded garment because we're also going to receive the garment that Lucifer lost. So we're going to have a double portion of light. Why? Because of all the things that we have been through as a people, and we maintained our holiness and righteousness because we believed in Alahayam. We walked in his commandments, his laws, and his statutes and his judgments, and we obeyed them. We obeyed him. And this is our reward. That's why I'm explaining to you. You do not understand how great a reward is waiting for us. If you could only grasp, it's not just even, okay, we're going to be living in the presence of Alahayam, but how? How? What will we have? We are going to have a light garment. We're going to have the light of Alahayam upgraded. It's going to be double what Adam and Hawa had. And when Adam and Hawa had the light of Alahayam, the angels trembled before them. But after they lost their light, Adam and Hawa trembled before the angels. That's why our people tremble every time they see an angel. I'm not talking about these foolish ones that talk about, oh yeah, I saw an angel and I did this and I did that. No, when you really see an angel, you tremble and you faint and you probably even die. You pass out. You lose your breath. He got to come and touch you and raise you up. Read it in the scriptures. And even the righteous ones, especially the righteous ones, they always pass out in the presence of the glory of Alahayam or his angels. So imagine us having that glory double. Double. Do you understand why the Satans hate us so much? Do you understand why he has provoked the world to hate us as a people? to try to destroy us? Do you understand why now you are hated? Stop trying to get them to love you. Let Alahayam do his work to sift them out, and then the ones that really love you, then yeah, you're ready to love them back. You're ready to deal with them. But stop trying to get them to love you by compromising yourself. They will never love us. And this is the reason why. The Satans has put it in their hearts. They hate us. They're envious of us because we are always outdoing them. All right? We're always outdoing them. In every aspect, on every sphere, on every level, we outdo them. All right? And I can go into a whole bunch of things that we have, that they don't have, that they wish they had, but they don't. But I'm not going to go there. Let's keep going because we still have quite a lot more to cover. We haven't even started this. We haven't even started. In the next slide, we're going to start the actual scripture. I'm just building a strong foundation to help you to understand who you are and what's coming for you. Because if you understand this, then when I go into the next chapter 19 all the way to chapter 22, when we are living now as angels, right? Upgraded. All right. Then it will not be impossible for you to, or it will not be hard for you to wrap your brain around what I'm saying. All right. Let's go on. Verse 28. And the heathen shall know that I, Yahweh, do sanctify Yasharaal when my sanctuary shall be in the midst of them forevermore. Because we see today, right, how everyone is looking to the fakers in our land, the false people in our land that claim they're Jewish, they're Ashkenazi, and Ashkenazi or Ashkenaz. They're from Japheth. They're not even from the lineage of Shem. Anyways, they look at them and they say, oh yeah, they're the real Jews of the Bible. Okay. But now the world is going to see, when all these things take place, when all these judgments and all these things begin to take place, and when Alahayam establish his people, and he establish his tabernacle or his sanctuary in the midst of them, then they'll have no other choice. They have no other choice but to believe it. Either they believe it, if they want a portion with us, so be it. But if they don't, well, off with their heads. All right? But the world will know. The heathens will know. As these things are happening, the regathering of the southern kingdom, the regathering of the northern kingdom, and then all the different judgments are coming, there's going to be a remnant of them that will submit themselves. I'm speaking of the Gentile nations. As it is today, there are some Gentiles, a very few of them, not a lot, a very, 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 very few Gentiles that acknowledge us as the people of the book. And I say, good for you, because you have a chance to receive a portion of what we have. Don't back down and don't let anyone take that away from you. Okay. This oath of multiplying like the sand on the seashore is clearly not completed as yet, as it was a prophecy that is ongoing until the end of time. So multiplying is an ongoing from the time Alahayam created the first man and the first woman. That prophecy of being fruitful and multiply was established then until after the millennial reign. It was fulfilled throughout the time when our forefathers left Goshen. Yes, we multiplied greatly there. And when their children entered into our land, yes, we multiplied even more there. Even until the time we were scattered and became slaves, yes, we are multiplied even more. We have grown as a people, but the problem is a lot of our people don't even know who they are. We never stopped multiplying throughout the ages as we are a prolific people, a gift of Alahayam. He made us a prolific people. Listen, let me tell you about a little story quickly. Quickly, because we're going to start verse 1. And because I've laid the foundation, these next few verses are going to flow quickly. So don't worry. Alahayam, sorry, let me see. Okay, yes, that's what I was going to say. When our forefathers were made slaves in Goshen, in Matzorayim, one of the things that they wanted to do, because we were multiplying like crazy, and there was a Parao, a king in Matzorayim, this is Egypt, who had not known Yahweh. All right? And he had not known what Yahweh did to preserve Matzorayim in those 7 years of famine. So when they saw the Habanai old Yasharaal, the children of Yasharaal multiplying, they became fearful. And what they say, well, we got to watch these people, because if they should join with our enemies, they can actually take everything away from us. So evil entered into their hearts to try to diminish our people. I'm saying to you, man, listen, do you know how many times the devil used these demons, these wicked people to try to diminish us as a people, to try to wipe us off the face of the earth? Do you know how many times? Okay, this is another time too. All right? This is another time too. Even before Masha was born. All right? Even before he was a twinkle in his mother's eye. They put it in their hearts that they're going to diminish us as a people. And the way to do it is to enslave the people. Okay, fine. They enslaved them. They tricked them, with the exception of the tribe of Lawai. Lawai was smart. He said no. They said no. We are not going to work for these people, because like our people love money. They say, okay, come work for us and build Ramses and all these different structures that you see there in Gaza. Up there in Cairo area. I forgot what that place is called. Gaza. Is it Gaza? I don't know. It's not Gaza. Anyways, it's up there. You got all the pyramids and stuff. Okay, that place. And, we're going to pay you. And they put a few of their people in the midst. And gradually they withdrew their own people, meaning Matzorayim. And they left with only our people working for them. First thing they did is stop paying them. And then they started persecuting them. And then and that's when slavery started. All right? That's when slavery started. And what they did is they made the people work so hard, because they figure, okay, we have them as slaves now. We have broken their spirit. That's the one thing. You see, we are warring people, and we are mighty people. But once our spirit is broken, that's when they can take advantage over us. So they broke our forefathers' spirits. And the next thing they did is they overworked them. They figure if they're too tired, they can't go and lie with their wives. So they worked them and they worked them and they worked them. But you know what happened? The men somehow had a zest. They had a zest for their wives. And more children were born during the time of their slavery than even before. And these pharaohs there, the pharaoh and his ministers, his governors and what have you, they're scratching their heads like, how is this even possible? They should be tired. They should be too tired to even look at their wives. But no, the wives became pregnant and they were bearing children. And that's when they started using the, I think this was during the time of maybe before Masha came around, but they abused our people like nothing. Anyways, we are a prolific people, and no matter what, that is a gift from the Father to make sure that we are never wiped out. No matter what they do, they listen. When they took us as slaves, right? When they took us as slaves on the slave ships, do you know how many millions of our people died on the way to wherever they were going to take us? Many, 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 many. And yet, look at us today. Look at us today. Look at how many of us are around today, right? Alahayam wanted to make sure that we are never wiped out. So, no matter what they put in our bodies, no matter what they do to us, our people still multiply. I know some people had like 20 children, 12 children, 14 children, right? These are our people multiplying. And he gave us the women strength to bear the children and pop them out, and to give the men strength to bear the persecution and still procreate with their wives. Can you imagine what kind of people we are? No wonder people, no wonder the other nations hate us, because they're weak. They're weak in their stamina. They're weak in everything. And that's why, anyway, let me not go there. But they're weak, all right? But we're strong. We're strong people. We're strong spiritually. We're strong in our minds, emotionally. We're strong physically. But when we are broken, that's what brings us under the feet of the masters. Instead of us mastering them, they master us. And we do everything we want. We do everything we can to please them, including marrying their daughters or their sons. All right? Bringing us under them again. All right, let me not go there. Let me not go there. But we are prolific people, a gift of Alahayam. Therefore, today we can say that we have greatly multiplied, but many of our brethren are Gentiles worshiping idols. We will become a small number, a remnant, because of the judgment set against our people. This will cause many to perish, and our numbers will dwindle drastically. Hence, the fulfillment of this prophecy is still to come, because it's perpetual, and it will only end until after the millennial reign of Hamashiach, the 1,000-year reign. We know that it is set in the future because of the language of the prophecy spoken above. And what he said is, when my sanctuary shall be in the midst of them forevermore. Is his sanctuary with us right now? No, we're still in the lands of our captivity. His sanctuary were in our midst when our forefathers were in the land, but since we've been scattered, his sanctuary has not been in the midst of us. So this is future. We have to pay careful attention to the language that is spoken to understand what is being conveyed, and that is, there will be a time in the not so distant future where the 12 tribes of Yasharaal will once again multiply greatly. All right? We will multiply again. Now that we have established these very important facts, now we can look at Revelation chapter 16, revised, with fresh eyes, understanding this prophecy. So let's start with verse 1. And after these things, I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. All right. Now, before I get started on the reading here, I just want to say this, that even though I've done many studies pertaining to the second Exodus, or the regathering of the southern kingdom, I've done many, many studies, right? But each study takes you one step deeper. Like this is giving you another aspect of what is going to happen in the regathering for both kingdoms. All right. It is not as detailed as the those other studies that I've mentioned, but it still gives you some more information. This is how Alahayam works. All right. He lays the foundation and he starts adding and giving more information to build knowledge, to build your understanding, our understanding. All right. So please, if you have not watched those previous studies that I've done, take the time and watch them. Okay. After all the subsequent events that are the judgments on the earth and on its inhabitants, remember time is no more. Time stops at trumpet number 6. Therefore, there are no clocks ticking, no sunsets or sunrise to let the inhabitants of the earth know what is about to take place. All that will be occurring are angels proclaiming the next event or judgment. Alahayam will cause the earth to experience an unusual stillness, as there will be no wind blowing. Alahayam is getting ready to finish his judgments, and before he does this, he will call for one more event to take place. It is important that this event takes place at this time, which we will see why in the next few verses. The 7 vials will be so terrible and so quick when they're poured out during the time of, and during this time of stillness, his debt that we owed him will be finally paid. Now we understand that wind, rain, snow, and all these elements are controlled by angels in the heavens, where there are storehouses where they're kept. Remember, there's no more technology, which was used in the past, which is our present time, to conjure up strange weather patterns all around the world, but not so anymore. So you look and you hear about snow in the desert and these heavy rainfalls and this extreme dry conditions, these droughts, what have you. They're using technology to bring about these drastic weather patterns, these extreme weather patterns, these storms, these super tornadoes, all these different things they're bringing. They're using the technology to do these things. All right. Now, in saying that, let me say this. They cannot do anything unless Alahayam permits them to do it. All right. So Alahayam is allowing this because all of this is part of his judgments, part of him judging the earth, to shake us up, to make us realize the end is near. So what are you going to do? Are you going to continue as if nothing is happening, or are you going to repent and return to me? Speaking of his people. And if after watching all these weird events going on around us, I mean, not even touching on the social calendar here yet. We're not even talking about what's going on amongst the people yet. We're talking about the weather patterns around the world, the earthquakes in diverse places. If we cannot see that these things that are occurring are escalating and increasing at an alarming rate, that at the end of it all, something has got to be birthed. And that will be the regathering of the southern kingdom. All right? Now, whether people believe it or not, that's their problem. Because if you don't believe, then you will suffer as a result of your unbelief. But if you believe, you'll do your due diligence and make sure that you're found worthy to be regathered, worthy to come before the King of glory. All right. So no more technology now, because um, the sixth seal, which is the great earthquake, destroy all technology forever. So this is Alahayam now showing his might in a matter of controlling the winds on the earth to fulfill his next plan. All right, but we're going to find out something about these four angels. Let's look at first Hanawak, this book of Enoch, chapter 41, verse 3. And there my eyes saw the secrets of the lightning and of the thunder, and the secrets of the winds, how they are divided to blow upon the earth, and the secrets of the clouds and dew. And there I saw where they came from and how they saturate the dusty earth. And there I saw closed storehouses out of which the winds are divided, the storehouse of the hail and winds, the storehouse of the mist and of the clouds, and the cloud thereof hovers over the earth from the beginning of the world. So from the very beginning, Alahayam sent the clouds, all right? But there are storehouses that store all these elements. But right now, the Satans are manipulating certain elements that are already there, like the clouds, to create their disasters. And Alahayam is permitting it. Alahayam had his creation in perfect alignment with his commandments until evil entered into the world and changed it. The four angels holding back the winds are fallen angels. They're not his angels. They are fallen angels who are tasked to carry out the duties of the seven vials, which will hurt the earth and its inhabitants, the sea and waters, and even the trees, speaking of all the green vegetation, not just the trees. We call it trees, but it's all the green stuff. It is for this reason why they will be standing at the four corners of the earth, because they will form a circuit covering every area of the earth, and nothing or no one will escape them. So you have one angel in the north, another in the south, one in the west, and one in the other in the east. And each angel will be synchronized to carry out the judgments of Alahayam, as his priestly angels will pour them out. So when each priestly angel, there are the seven angels with the seven vials, as they pour out the vial, these four angels that are holding back the winds, they're the ones that are going to bring about the actual torments on the earth. All right, Alahayam is going to use them. He's used them in the past, and he's going to keep using them until he's finished with his judgments on the earth, and then he's going to cast them into the lake of fire. And that's the reason why the angel had to come and speak to them, because they are not privy to the knowledge of Alahayam. Alahayam sends his angel to speak to them, to tell them what to do and what not to do. All right? Also remember, the northern kingdom will be preserved in our land. Yasharaal will not see any of these judgments. So they're in our land. They're surrounded by fire, the glory of Alahayam. And they're not even witnessing anything that's going on. All right? They're living in glory. So let's look at verse 2 and 3 of Revelation chapter 17 revised. I may have said 16 before, forgive me. But this is Revelation 17 revised. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living Alahayam, and he cried with a loud voice to the four angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our Alahayam in their foreheads. So the angel rising from the east had to be the one giving the instruction to the four angels that are holding back the winds from the earth. All right. Let me see. And let's go on to verse 4 of the same chapter, chapter 17, revised. And I heard the number of them who were sealed, and they were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of Habanai Ol Yashraal. All the tribes of Habanai Ol Yashraal. Yes, I know the tribe of Manasseh and Ephraim are also tribes of themselves, but they are under the tribe of Yawasap. They're absorbed because his two sons are considered the tribe of Yawasap. All right? So when you see the tribe of Yawasap in there, it's inclusive of Manasseh and Ephraim. So why they had put Manasseh and replaced Dan? Because the wicked people that they are, they're trying to throw us off. Right? Don't let them deceive you. Put Dan back in. Dan belongs in there. There's no scripture that says that he needed to be taken out. The tribe needed to be taken out. And listen, all of the tribes of all of the 12 tribes acted rebelliously against Alahayam. Every single tribe, even Lawai. All right. So there's no reason to take the tribe of Dan out saying, well, because they did this and they were so wicked, and all the tribes were wicked before Alahayam. That's why I hear some people say, oh, he took out the tribe. He dismissed the tribe of Dan because they were so wicked and they did this and they did that. Listen, all the 12 tribes or all the other 11 tribes have done wickedly against Alahayam. Okay. An angel ascends in the east with the seal of Alahayam, which we will look at in a moment. Now, when you hear about a seal, don't think that it's something physical that they come and stamp you on the head. No, it's nothing like that. No, it's nothing like that. All right. This is a spiritual sealing. All right. It's spiritual. That's why the angel has it. He commands, meaning the 4 angels, not to do anything except what they will be doing, holding back the winds until the 144,000 are sealed in their foreheads. And when we talk about the foreheads, we're talking about their minds. So can he get a physical seal and stamp it on their minds? No, this is a spiritual sealing. Well, we're going to get into that in a bit. But it's a spiritual sealing. He commands them because they are the fallen angels, taking their instructions from the angels of Alahayam to torment the inhabitants of the earth and to hurt the earth as well. Now we know from previous studies that Alahayam will use the fallen angels, not speaking of the Satans. We're talking about the other fallen angels. There are many fallen angels. The Satans are just like the generals. All right? The fallen angels, and then you have after them the Nephilim spirits. Nephilim spirits are the children, the hybrid species that came about because the 200 watchers married wives, the daughters of men. And they have this hybrid species that were like giants on the earth. After the flood, there was no place to put them, so Alahayam allowed them to roam the earth as evil spirits, as unclean spirits. All right? Until the time when he's going to cast every single one of them into the lake of fire. All right. So let's go on. So we know that Alahayam will use the fallen angels, not speaking of the saints, to carry out his judgments. Then he will cast them into the lake of fire, for they have fulfilled their final duties. Now, remember the 4 horsemen? The 4 horsemen, which are part of the 4 seals, the first 4 seals. Okay, those are evil spirits. Sorry, fallen angels. The angels that are going to be at the river Euphrates, where the river Euphrates is, fallen angels. All right. So Alahayam will use the fallen angels to carry out his torments upon the earth. But here's why. Isn't it poetic to see that these fallen angels who presented themselves as gods on the earth to cause the nations to worship them, meaning the gods, then to torment their worshippers? No, isn't it poetic? These angels present themselves, these fallen angels present themselves to the inhabitants of the earth as gods, as deities throughout the ages, to get the inhabitants of the earth to corrupt themselves through pagan worship. And now these same devils are tormenting their worshippers. Ain't that something? This is the hand of Alahayam. Okay? This is what he does. Just like the whore of Babylon. He caused the kings of the earth, the beast empire, to turn against her. Yes, he did. To destroy her. Burn her with fire. That's what Alahayam does. He will always use the enemy against themselves. What about Gog and Magog when they come into the mountains? When they come in their great numbers in the mountains of Yasharaal, what did he do? What is he going to do with them? They're going to turn against each other and kill one another. How about the time of Jehoshaphat? Same thing happened. Alahayam shows his might to his people for us to see that, hey, you don't have to lift a finger, but you will see the destruction of your enemies before your face. How about when our forefathers crossed the Red Sea and Pharaoh and his chariots were in the midst of the Red Sea with two walls of water beside them, on either side of them? Did not our forefathers see or saw? They did not see, that's the correct tense, they did not see the destruction of their tormentors? Yes, they did. That's how Alahayam works. And that's how he gets the glory from us. Because there was nothing that they could have done to destroy Pharaoh. They're a broken people. All right. Directly after the sealing of the 144,000 saints, Alahayam will command his 7 priestly angels to begin pouring out the 7 vials of judgments. So let us consider what the sealing is all about now. Kings and other officials will use a seal to show that the document being sealed is official, important, and it cannot be changed or altered. When Alahayam seals his servants, starting with the righteous remnant of the southern kingdom, before the 3 days of darkness, it will be to preserve them alive so that he can regather them. The same will be for the righteous remnant of the northern kingdom, who will be sealed on their exodus. However, the sealing for the 144,000 saints will go much deeper, as they will not need to be preserved, but reserved for him. This sealing in their foreheads, which speaks of their minds, mean that they will know who they are and they will know their purpose, even though they are babes. From the time they leave the womb, they will know who they are. Alahayam will set them apart from all the other children, where they will have one mind to worship and serve him always. They will have no other desire but to worship Alahayam. Let's look at Yochanan, which is the book of John, chapter 6, verse 26, just to give you a little bit of an idea of how these children will be. This is Yahawasha'al answered them and said, okay, before I go in, let me give you a little bit of I didn't want to write out the whole story, but sorry, actually, no, this is not that story. Let's go on. Yahawasha'al answered them and said, verily, verily, I say unto you, you seek me not because you saw the miracles. This is him speaking to the people, the multitudes that follow him everywhere, but because you did eat of the loaves and were filled. So those days, it was 3 days. He had the people and he was preaching and teaching to them, and they were not eating or drinking, and he fed them with bread and fish. Remember that? He did that twice. And the people love to follow him because they get free food. Again, our people and food, we have a food problem. We really do. All right. So now he's instructing these same multitudes about food. Labor not for the meat which perishes. Don't labor for food that will perish, but for the meat, the food, the spiritual food that endures unto everlasting life, which the Son of Man shall give unto you. So the Son of Man, who is Hamashiach, what does he give unto us? What spiritual food does he give unto us? It's called truth. And truth is revealed to us through his spirit, his Ruach Kadash. So he's telling us today, don't you go working to get your physical food, because he already knows that you have need of food. He knows that your physical bodies need physical food. But what you should be laboring for is the kind of food that will lead us to everlasting life. And we can only receive that food through him. By believing in him. When we believe in him, he releases his spirit to us. And when he releases his spirit to us, now his spirit can reveal the truth which Hamashiach gives to him to feed us. And when we are feasting on his spiritual food, that means we're walking in the light. For him, meaning the person who is doing this, who's receiving the meat that endures unto everlasting life, for him has Alahayam Ha'aba, the Father, sealed. So the person who is purposing to walk in righteousness and in holiness because they believe in Hamashiach, they walk in the commandments of Alahayam, they obey them. All right? They're walking in the light. They're walking in truth. They're walking in the straight and narrow path. Those persons are sealed by Ha'aba. Yahweh Ha'aba. You're sealed, meaning you're set apart. You're preserved for eternal life. And you're preserved from his wrath. All right? So that word sealed means sphragizo. I can never pronounce this Greek word. Means to mark a person, to confirm authentic. So he marks us. He sets his mark upon us. Sets us apart from the rebellious people, the rebellious brethren. We have already established who the 144,000 saints will be and why they belong to Alahayam. At this point of their sealing is to mark the very last firstborn male child that will be born, who will belong to Alahayam, later to be his priest in his heavenly tabernacle. So when this sealing occurs, it will occur at the time when the very last firstborn male child will be born. Firstborn male child, the very last one, the 144,000th child, male child. When he is born, that's when this sealing will take place. To set that baby, along with those that were born previously, apart from all the other children. And not only to set them apart from all the other children, but also they will grow up knowing who they are, and they will not have the desire of the other children, which is to get married and have children. That's why they will remain as virgins, never married, or never thought of getting married, because the only thing on their mind is worship. That's the only thing on their minds, will be worship. And that is the seal that is planted in their minds for them to know, you are my priest, son. Now, this time of sealing is the setting apart of the firstborn males. That was a debt that was owed by our forefathers, but paid by the righteous remnant of their descendants, meaning us, the ones that are regathered and cleansed. All right? Being sealed means that these children will grow up into adults, not having the desire to marry, therefore to have children. They will be born to be like angels, knowing that they are to serve Alahayam in his tabernacle. So when they're born, they're going to be just like the angels. Let us recall how Hamashiach was when he was a child, set apart from all the other children. So that was the scripture, the previous scripture that we read. I thought it was this one. So what's happening here? Hamashiach and his parents and their family members went to Yasharaal for one of the festivals. And Hamashiach, I believe he was about 12 years old at this point of time. All right? And what happened is, as he's a young man, he's going to be a responsible young man. And they had many family members along with them. So they figured, this is Mariam and Yawasap, they figured that he went ahead with the other members of the family. But when they got a certain place, they realized, wait a second, where is he? He's not amongst our brethren. And they said they haven't seen him, so they started searching for him. And they end up going back to Yasharaal. So this is where the story picks up. Luke chapter 2, verse 45. And when they found him not, they turned back again to Yasharaal seeking him. And it came to pass that after 3 days they found him in the temple, sitting in the midst of the doctors, both hearing them and asking them questions. And all that heard him were astonished at his understanding and answers. And when they saw him, they were amazed. And his mother said unto him, Son, why have you thus dealt with us? Behold, your father and I have sought you, sorrowing. And he said unto them, How is it that you sought me? Do you not know that I must be about my father's, my Abba's business? And they understood not the saying which he spoke unto them. And he went down with them and came to Nazareth and was subject unto them. And was subject unto them. But his mother kept all these sayings in her heart. And Yahushua increased in wisdom and stature and in favor with Alahayam and man, with his Abba and man. So they were looking for him. 3 days later, they found him in the middle of these doctors, talking to them, listening to them, and asking them questions. And what did he respond to them? Do you not know that I must be about my father's business? Right? Although this is the same Mariam that received the message from Gabaraal, who is Gabriel, that she is the maiden that was going to birth the son of Alahayam. And Ruach Kadash overwhelmed her, and she had not known a man. This is the same Mariam. So you see, even though the truth is right before our eyes, and we hear it with our ears, unless we have the understanding from Ruach HaKadosh, we will not understand it. We will not understand it. This is the same Mariam that knew who he is, who he was, not is, who he was. She knew who he was because the gift that was given to her through the angel told her who he was or who he will be when he comes from her womb. And yet she's like, they couldn't understand it. Like, what were you saying? I must be about my father's business. But she kept it in her heart. Just like when the angels came and visited her when she was in the house at that time. When the shepherds came, she was in the cave. All right? And then when the angels, sorry, not the angels. When when the shepherds first visited her, yes, but then when the wise men came and visited her at the house, he was about a 2-year-old child. He was a young child. And they brought the gifts and they said they saw the star and so on and so forth. So she had all these different evidence, all these different bits of proof of who he is or who he was. And yet she didn't understand when he talks about his father's business. So truly, we cannot understand the divine word of Alahayam. We cannot understand his prophecy. We can't understand anything about him unless it is revealed to us. This is the woman that gave birth to this young lad, who is the son of Alahayam. And yet she could not understand what he was talking about. But here, what he is saying, I must be about my Abba's business. He knew who his true father is, still is. So these children, these firstborn males, they will have the same mindset. Yet they will submit themselves and subject themselves to their parents until the time where they are grown and Hamashiach is ready to collect them, to set them in their roles as priests in the heavens. All right? This is going to happen. Don't say it's not going to happen. It's written down in the word of Alahayam. All right? So these 144,000 children, when they are sealed, will exhibit very unusual characteristics to show that they are set apart from all the other children. Yet they will submit themselves to their parents to be like children until the time of their gathering unto Alahayam Hamashiach. Yeah, they will be like children, but they're going to be unusual children. Oh, yeah. Verse 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 of Revelation chapter 17 revised. Of the tribe of Yehoiada, which is Judah, are sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Ra'awaban, which is Reuben, are sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Gad are sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Asher are sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Naphtali, which is Naphtali, were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Dan were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Shamaowan, which is Simeon, were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Levi, which is Levi, were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Yashashakar, which is Issachar, were sealed 12,000. of the tribe of Zabawalawan, which is Zebulun, were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Yavasap, which is Joseph, were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Banaya Mayam, which is Benjamin, were sealed 12,000. Lots of mouthword of words there. Only because it's translated into English. All right? They look like long words, but only because they're translated into English. Now, in the original scripture, the tribe of Dan was taken out. For what reason, we will never know. But knowing that the evil powers that be have already contaminated our Bible, it is not a surprise that this has occurred to keep us discombobulated and away from the truth. This is the plan of the Satans, always to keep us from the truth, which is our light, so that we will always dwell in darkness. The tribe of Yahusap was already included in the 12 tribes, which is inclusive of his two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. So why add in Manasseh and take out Dan? There are no scriptures that claim this to be the plan of Alahayam. I returned the tribe of Dan as Alahayam is returning for the righteous remnant of Yaakob's 12 sons. All right? So let us consider the meaning of the names of the sons of Yaakov to see whether it gives us insight as to why they were named in this particular order. So we're going to look at the order according to this chapter of Revelation, Revelation chapter 17 revised, and according to the order of their birth. Okay? There's always significance when it comes to names, even names of people, names of places. So, first one, Yahawada, who is Judah, although born fourth, is placed first. His name means praised. Ra'awaban, who is Reuben, originally the firstborn, but replaced by Yahawada because of his transgression, means behold a son. Now, Ra'awaban uncovered the skirt of his father. He laid with one of Yaakov's concubines, wives, one of the handmaids that were given to him as a wife. All right? He laid with her. And so he was replaced as the firstborn by Yahawada. Gad, a troop comes. Ashar means happy or blessed. Naphtali, which is Naphtali, means wrestling. Dan means a judge. Shama Owan means heard. Lawai means joined to. Yashashakar means there is recompense. Zabawalawan means exalted. Yawasap means Yahweh has added. And Banaya Mayam means son of the right hand. Now, when you put them all together, this is what the 12 sons in the order of the book of Revelation, according to how they are listed as the progenitors of the sealed 144,000 saints of Yahweh. So if you put it together now, praised, behold a son, a troop comes, happy, blessed, wrestling, a judge, heard, joined to, there's recompense, exalted, Yahweh has added, son of the right hand. So now let us look at their order by birth. All right, so the order by birth, this is according to the book of Bara'ashayath, the book of Genesis. Ra'ah Waban, which is Reuben. Shama Owan, who is Simeon. Lawai, who is Levi. Yahawada, who is Judah. Dan, Naphtali. Gad, Ashar, Yashashakar, Issachar, Zabawalawan, who is Zebulun, Yawasap, Banayamayam, who is Benjamin. All right? So that's the order of their birth according to the book of Genesis. So now let us see how it is according to the order of birth. So instead of praise being first, we have behold a son, heard, joined to, praised, a judge, wrestling, a troop comes, happy, blessed, there is recompense. Exalted Yahweh has added son of the right hand. So that will be the order according to the meaning of their names. All right. Notice that the last four names are the same. There is recompense, exalted, Yahweh has added, son of the right hand. Those four names, which we know are the last four sons. Let's go back to, which is Yashashakar, Zabawalawan, Yawasa, and Bana Yamayan. Those four sons are always the same. All right. This is our story written in the names of our forefathers, the sons of Yaokab. Their order gives a different beginning, but the ending of our story is always the same. There will be recompense where we will be exalted because Yahweh has added to us his son of his right hand, who is Hamashiach. So in the first story, based on the revelation order, and these are the names of our forefathers, the 12 sons of Yaokab, according to the book of Revelation, chapter 17, revised. And it goes like this. Praise Yahweh, for behold a son who is Yaokab, from whom a troop comes. Happy and blessed are they, yet they wrestle with me. I am judge who heard them. Let them join to me where there's recompense, and they will be exalted. For Yahweh has added his son of his right hand to preserve them. All right? This has been our story from the time we were scattered as, from the time we became slaves even in Matzorayim. All right? He is our judge. And when we cry out to him, he hears us. But we have to join to him. Because only when we are joined to him, meaning we submit to him. All right? Only when we do that, we receive the recompense where he lifts us up to be his people. He will be our Alahayam. Why? Because Alahayam sent his only begotten son to die for us, to preserve us as a people unto him for his purpose, because of the covenant he's made with our forefathers and the promises and the prophecies that he has given to us to be his people forevermore. But it will only come as on his condition, on according to his requirements. So Yaokab, who is the son that came through the other son of promise that came from Abraham. And why it is Yaokab and not Yahshua is because from Yaokab came the troop, the 12 tribes, the 12 sons who were the progenitors of the 12 tribes. And they were happy and they were blessed when he made the promise to be their Alahayam and there to be his people. But they wrestled against him. They walked in disobedience and rebellion. So that's why he said, I am their judge. And when they cry out, I will hear them. Because they're not, you see, you have to cry out, but you also have to be in such a broken state that you know that the gods that you serve has done nothing to help you. So when they cry out to him, they cry out with their, they said, they have this saying, with their hats in their hands. They cry out looking for mercy, and he hears us. He hears us when we cry out to him. All right, so let's look at the next one. Let's look at what our story says based on the order of our forefathers' birth. Behold, the son, Yaokab. He has heard and joined to me. Yahweh be praised. I am judge wrestling with a troop who comes. These are the 12 tribes. Happy and blessed is he, for there is recompense, and he will be exalted, for Yahweh has added his son of his right hand to preserve them. So here's the Yaokab. It starts with Yaokab because the 12 tribes start with their father, who is Yaokab. And at one point in time, Yaokab used to refer to Alahayam, the Alahayam of his father, Yatsahak, until he had an encounter with the angel of Yahweh. All right? When he had his own personal encounter with Yahweh, then he turned his heart to him to serve him as his Alahayam. No longer the Alahayam of his forefathers, but his own Alahayam, because he has heard and he joined himself to Alahayam. Yahweh be praised. All right? Yahweh be praised because our forefather Yaokab saw the light. And Alahayam became his Alahayam. He says, I am judge wrestling with a troop. Who comes? And happy and blessed is he, for there's recompense. He shall be exalted, for Yahweh has added his son of his right hand to preserve them. So anyone, and this is pertaining not only to our forefathers, but to us today. When we return to him, like when we worship him and we submit to him, there's recompense, and that is the blessed thing of it all. That is the blessed part of it all, that there's recompense for us. And he's the one who exalts us because of what he has done. He has added his son of his right hand to preserve us. All right? So those are the two readings, the two meanings of the order of our forefathers' names by birth and by the book of Revelation chapter 17 revised. So let's look at Obadiah chapter 12 verse 2. That's the book of Hebrews chapter 12 verse 2. Looking unto Yahushua, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the stake. He did not die on a cross, he died on a stake, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of Alahayam. Where is he sitting? The right hand of the throne of Alahayam. So the son of his right hand is Hamashiach. The sealing of the 144,000 will take place at a time just before the 7 vials are poured out, to reserve his final harvest from his chosen people until the day when they are gathered by him at his appointed time. Speaking of the 144,000. At that time, they will be grown and ready to serve Alahayam in his tabernacle, following Hamashiach, our high priest, forever, wherever he goes. So they are the priesthood that will follow the high priest forever. So all these ones that are talking about, oh yeah, I'm part of the 144,000. You have no idea what you're talking about. So that's the ending of chapter 17 revised. We're heading home. We're heading to this is the final stretch now. But there's still much to cover. All right? Still much to cover. And hopefully, once the judgments are over, now we can, you know, we can look at the sweetness that is coming for all of us. All right? The sweetness that are coming for the righteous remnant. So let's finish it off with the blessing for Yasharaal. The Barayam, chapter 6, verse 24 to 26. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6, verse 24 to 26. Yabarakak Yahweh wa Yashamarak. May Yahweh bless you and keep you. Ya'ar Yahweh panayo alayak wa yahanak. May Yahweh cause his face to shine upon you and have favor upon you. Yasha'al Yahweh panayo alayak wa yashamlak shalom. May Yahweh lift up his face upon you and give you peace. And I say, Shalom, Shalom. All praises to the Most High. Abba Yah.